there's this new thing that just came out called Sora 2. So the Aristotle quote was actually pleasure in the job, it's perfection in the work, the second one.
It's AI creating synthetic AI to train AI, so it's just become this infinite loop of slop.
We know that the best ideas going forward in the future is going to be from multidisciplinary people collaborating together, hopefully in the same room. And that's when brilliant ideas are going to emerge.
All right, welcome everybody to the second episode of Live Fridays Behind the Creative Curtain. My name is Sammy Peters, and today we will be talking about the creative and ethical use of AI in arts and media. And we have two very special guests to do that. So we have Paul Rowan, the co-founder of Umbra. Woo! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, so he's gonna stay like that the whole time. Hi, everybody. Welcome. And we have Cindy Pham, the AI ethicist of Sony. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh,
So,
wow, what a Hollywood entrance.
Thank you.
Is this working? Okay.
This is on, yeah. Okay, so how are you guys?
Super.
Yeah, all good? It wasn't too lonely behind the curtain?
It was with his guy, yeah.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Cindy, I want to start with you first. I want to ask you to give a little bit of your background, your experiences with AI, and yeah, we'll start from there.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Cindy Pham, and I just want to start by saying caveat that the opinions I express today are just my own. I'm very corporate, and do not reflect the company that I currently work for.
Yeah.
So yes, I am an AI ethics / governance professional. I've been in the field for over 15 years now. I graduated very similarly to what a lot of the students I assume here have, which is a media, information, and culture, humanities background. I went to Western University, so no shade.
Ooh.
I know, no shade. But my career has kind of been squiggly, which means I didn't really start right into my what I studied in school. I actually started at the bank, but it's kind of come full circle. When I was starting at the bank, I started at a big bank here in Canada, in Toronto, and I started doing AI risk, and this was way back before it was kind of cool. I mean, risk doesn't sound cool, but I was doing something with AI. I was essentially, in charge of developing their AI risk framework. And from there, it's really evolved into the ethical aspects of how we use this technology and how the technology in turn uses us. So I look at myself a little bit like, I would say like a recipe developer. So if you think about, a company using AI, the ingredients would be the developers and the engineers that are bringing the models and the data. And then you have the executives who are like the CEOs that determine what's going to be on the menu, what the strategy is, how you're going to use AI. So I'm a little bit in the center where I will develop the recipes to ensure that the AI that we're using or cooking in this sense is not poisoning us and is actually not causing us harm, and it contains good ingredients. So my day-to-day is very corporate. I take big lofty principles like accountability, fairness in AI, and then I translate that into how can developers actually embed ethics into their development process so that the outcome and the models that they build are better for our customers and also for society as a whole.
Right, and as I was doing my research, you said that fairness, transparency, and accountability are three big principles that you think are the most valuable regarding AI. How do you think that applies to the use of AI in the creative industries or in arts and media in general?
Yes, so when you're looking at AI ethics, those are the core principles, because we also have like privacy and accountability, but those are the three core principles when you're looking at an AI ethicist. Like, how do you determine how ethical AI is through those fairness, accountability, transparency. So how does that translate into the media business?
Yeah.
I would say you should ask for transparency with the companies or the tools that you're using. So transparency means, how are those models trained? Are you ingesting my data to make your model better? And if you are, do I get compensated for? So the companies, we should really strive to have more transparency and corporate transparency, especially in those companies that are building these generative and also foundational models. And accountability is, basically, if an AI goes rogue or if an output is misinformation or disinformation, who really, and there is harm that's caused, who is to blame? Sorry, I don't mean to use the word blame, but who is held accountable for those decisions? Because you can't just say the machine did it and then wipe your hands free of that.
Yeah.
And fairness is ensuring that everybody is included in the AI training process. The data is not skewed towards one demographic over the other, so that the outputs can reflect more of the society that we want, not a biased society that is kind of contained within the people who are just building it.
Okay. All right. And Paul, if I can ask you to give a little bit of a background about what it is that you do exactly.
Well, I started a design and manufacturing business called Umbra with a partner 40 years ago. And I've seen a lot of changes and disruption in all the technology that we've used to develop design and business. I mean, when we started, actually, computers were in their infancy as far as personal or small business computers. So there was always a great benefit, but huge disruption. Like for our accountants that were doing ledger sheets and so forth, they had to be retrained or they quit if they couldn't handle being computerized. I mean, that's just one example. And then I think it was a huge change when the internet came on the scene, and just the speed of information exchange, intercompany, and then globally. So you had an incredible globalization of our business through the internet. And now, and then even in our studio, when we introduced 3D printing, only big companies had, the supercomputers to do that kind of CAD work. And then all of a sudden, we had the capability of doing 3D printing. That really changed. So every one of these disruptions and also benefits is all about more productivity, getting things done for your business faster or less expensively, right? So then a couple of years ago, along comes AI, and I'm fascinated because for me, it's like magic. I mean, this was like not just a disruptive or benefit change that like the others I've noted, but the the outputs that I could get from engineering prompts, particularly I started with Midjourney, were just stunning to me. And at the time, I was teaching a semester at a university in Colombia, South America.
Oh, wow.
And I had a whole lecture prepared for my first class, and I just threw it out the window after I'd used Midjourney. I thought, we completely have to change the way we teach, Professor. He's looking up now. Because AI makes you think, change your priorities about what you want to impart to students like yourselves. So I guess summing up right now, just before we get into the questions, is that we have this enormous, and I'm actually jealous of everybody in the audience right now because you have this productivity, this enormous productivity at your fingertips now that nobody has ever had. So when you combine that in the right proportion with your creativity, I think this can be an amazing era for you. And of course, there's people that are going to be disrupted by it. But we're talking to a creative group here, or people that want to work in a creative space. This is at least what the course that you're taking. So this is an incredible opportunity for creative people to really, maximize their effect on the world and culture. It's amazing. But, it's also fraught with issues right now, too. I have to just say, commenting on what you said about the ethics. Like, anyone in the room here right now that doesn't have ethics about their business, that doesn't have as part of their business ethos, sustainability, ethics, how you treat workers, how you treat the planet. Like, if you don't have that as part of your whole company or even your personal ethos, then I think you're going to fail. Because how do you attract employees, for example, to a company that doesn't have those ethics? So it just makes sense to me that there's going to be oversight of AI. Now, the question is, can actually the oversight work? Because I think we're going to get into it. Because in my opinion, in my life, I've been fraught with piracy, and there's plenty of patents out there for everything, but what you see around us today here in terms of the craft, the objects, the chairs, the table, these microphones, a lot of it is not original design. Because business, once an original design emerges, instantly business copies, okay? And sometimes sometimes originators can defend, but most of the stuff can just be derivative and be outside patents. So my question is, how are you going to trace the originality and the training for some of these programs? I think it's going to be really, really difficult. But I agree with you. I think it should be done. But I also think it might be something that's completely out of our control. So I'm sure you have something to say about that because you have a job to do.
So yeah, that's a great point actually, because how do you, what I know the EU has an AI Act to sort of keep it in check, keep it in control. Where is Canada on that? And is there a way to even keep it in control, for the next 2 years, let's say, up until that gets made?
So Canada, actually the EU AI Act, which is the first, global recognized regulation that helps to make sure that the AI that's being developed by these companies are in check. And we also have oversight mechanisms. So it is based on a risk tier. So there's prohibitive practices, which means you cannot use or build AI that defames someone or causes harm to children, for example, or has a lot of potentiality to cause harm in the medical system, for example. So physical harms, those are prohibited. But I do have a caveat. I'm not a lawyer, but I do understand the impacts of this regulation. Sure. So to answer your question, Canada does have, what I would say, it's more of a guideline for the use of generative AI. The government is trying to guide federal agencies in particular to use the technology responsibly in a manner that is not amplifying deep fakes, for example, and you understand that there are risks that are involved in using this technology. But in terms of hard law, what we have right now is the automated decision-making directive, which is a tool that companies and federal governments must use to assess AI before it is implemented, in the wider scope of their initiatives. So, in terms of a hard law, not just yet, but there are existing laws like copyright law. There's anti-discrimination law that is outside, that is not specific to AI, but still captures AI within its scope. Yeah.
Okay, because like when I hear or when I think of the term guidelines, it's usually they're always good to have, but it can also sort of serve as a box that can be a bit restrictive, especially I think in the creative field. And I might be completely wrong on that, but like for you, for example, at Umbra, you guys have like such an emphasis on making, and it's written everywhere, making everyday objects aesthetic. And there's like that balance between like a design's practicality and then its actual like it looking beautiful. So how does the rise of AI, how do you keep that philosophy with the rise of AI and still sticking to those guidelines as well without much room for nuance?
Well,
if
I
you know
think,
what I mean.
well, first of all, just for the students here, I mean, we can say government's going to help us with guidelines but I think we just have to have personal ethics about how we use these things. I mean, even with your papers that you're going to be preparing for this talk, I mean, what's the authenticity of it? And what's the point of using ChatGPT to get through school if you're not going to, gain any talents or like knowledge? Like, think about it. It's not, the degree is worthless unless you actually come away with something like that's added to your life that you can use for your career and so forth to make your life better. So let's make it personal, first of all. And if you're using AI, I think you should say it. Why not? A lot of designers around the world are saying it's a new creative tool, a new creativity. There's famous architects around the world that are admitting that, yeah, we're using AI to develop really interesting buildings. In my case, okay, so it's a tool, right, to make us more productive, to do things. Basically, speed to market is what drives almost everything, even in your cultural work and endeavors. Like getting the stuff out quickly and economically is what business is all about. These tools give it to you. For example, if we want to make a presentation in the past to a big store, let's say Walmart, we might spend weeks with 10 designers working on concepts, conceptual things, right, that might get the client interested in us working with them. But now we can do it like within like a day with less people. We can prepare a completely aspirational, conceptual, like wildly crazy, even creative presentation at a very low cost and with low risk. So we can go into the client and say like, okay, here's some concepts that we developed, and we can say AI or not. I mean, some of it I think requires original thinking. Even when you do the prompt engineering, it still requires your creativity. So we go in there, and then the client might say, oh yeah, I'm really excited about what your creative process is. Please work with us to develop ideas. So it's a path to, it's not the end, because it's conceptual, very conceptual right now. I'm not saying that in the future you might be able to build buildings right from concept. Like, yeah, probably. But so it's a great tool to make us more productive, but we still require that creative input to make it original, okay?
Right. And so using that as a tool, and this is a question for the both of you, is how would you advise people to, because there's two extremes. There's either AI as a threat and it's taking away everything humane, or it's no, this is super useful, this is going to boost productivity to levels that we've never seen before. How do you sort of find that balance between not falling behind on AI, because if you do, then that's a huge problem, especially if you're starting to work in creative industries or in any job field. So how do you find the balance between not falling behind, but then also not depending on it entirely to create for you?
John and I were just actually discussing what is like the skill that humans and also especially students need to really double down on for your futures. And I would say it's not a black and white answer. Like everything is on a spectrum, I feel. I'm not a Luddite by any means. I am not gonna like kill the machines. But you know, you can still use it, but you have to understand that as much as John wants it to be, it's not magic. There are, you know, AI is essentially a mathematical machine that does computations and predicts what the next either word is, or it just it's an amalgamation of all of the work that's out there, and then it just takes the median average, right? So to demystify it is to say that yes, it's a tool that we can use, but it's not going to be a replacement for our own knowledge and creativity. So John said something before, and I wanted to pick up on that, is, you know, what is the point if you just use ChatGPT and you just go in and you will accept the output for what it is, then what is the point of actually learning, right? As humans, ChatGPT can probably summarize all of your textbooks in a matter of minutes. It can give you neat notes, you know, but for you to actually learn, there has to be friction. There has to be this friction of engaging with the content and asking yourself, why can't I understand this? How does this connect to something else that I already know? And that's how you build your knowledge, and that's how you build your experience, and that's how you build your creativity, I feel. So to use it is, I would say, just understand that there are limitations, but as I was saying before, I think AI is going to be a superhuman tool for individuals that already have a great sense of judgment, critical thinking, and also, you know, innate creativity. So if you are already really good at your craft, using an AI tool will get you like amplified. But if you're just kind of mediocre and expecting it to be creative for you, I think the output is just going to be pretty mid, I would say.
Right. Well, I think we have to give credit for the people here, because these are natives, okay? Like
Yes.
they grew up with screens. So they're just migrating to AI like they would migrate from any game, like digital game or yeah, like
Yeah.
so I've been in workshops with people like your age, and they just immediately start to create concepts using AI, while at the same time, you know, it's obviously the human input is so important. I just think that you have to look at yourself and say, you know, am I using AI because I'm just lazy, or am I using it as a creative tool? I mean, this is something you personally have to decide. And by the way, like I think because of the threat of AI taking jobs away from the market, unless you actually focus on that side of your brain, which to foster creativity and critical thinking, it's going to be hard to get a job, because if you were just going to move into society doing a job that maybe a robot could do, that job's not going to be there. Like this is a threat for any of you think that you can slide through life using AI and hide behind the curtain of, you know, technology. It's not going to exist for humans. So at the same time, I want to say in a very positive way that AI, the era of AI, is going to create even a colder world than we have today. It already is kind of cold right now. There's a lot of lack of innovation. There's only a few companies in the world that really innovate, that drive us forward, that we're really interested in, and that's why they're so huge. There's a couple innovating companies, maybe in also mobility and phones and, you know, computing, and the rest of the world is just sort of following along and duplicating it. So that is the era of AI, much colder and limited and bland and say lacking character. But at the same time, there will be a contrarian movement for creatives, which is why I'm so optimistic about the future for creatives like yourselves, because if you can do experiential things that are focused around human, love and community and what we touch and how we eat and how we entertain ourselves away from the cold world of AI, which is sitting in front of a screen or ordering Uber Eats and just being isolated in your room, that's a horrible future, okay? Or video games. Like, human contact, human engagement is something we're gonna crave. So if you can provide, the design of that to experiential design, the arts, going to concerts and experiencing things live instead of like streaming, okay? Streaming is never gonna go away and it's gonna get bigger and bigger, but so the opportunity for us as creatives is like, wow, people are gonna wanna have human contact again. So that's the opportunity I see.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, and it just kind of, I thought about something with respect to streaming. So I didn't know, 5 years ago about what Twitch was, but I find it so fascinating that there's an audience that craves just watching the mundane life of other people, and they could be just doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that speaks to more of our craving for this falsified sense of connection through our screens because we lack it, or are we creating that? So I like what you said, that, the future is really about, curating and also creating those experiential experiences. Just like when Facebook and Meta, they created Facebook, it was in the intent and their essence was to bring people together so that they could physically be out in the world. But how it actually turned out is people are much more segregated, and there's this false sense of connectivity in your own kind of isolation. I mean, I could see that could happen if the bleeding of our analog life into our digital can happen at a rate that AI can amplify. So it is very important just to step outside of the digital world and realize that, yes, this is what AI can't give us, is human touch. Human connection, human engagement, that's what AI can't do. As of now, you're looking at me like the robotics are gonna come. It's not, I don't think that it's gonna happen in the next 5
No, I've
years
seen
or
too
so.
many movies.
You
so-
see, oh yeah, and that's,
I'm glad you mentioned analog versus digital. I mean, I noticed you were handwriting your notes, which is kind of cool.
on a digital doc.
So there is a convergence. So that is a convergence. And apparently you're going to handwrite your notes, your review of this lecture too. That's a requirement. So you're going to actually have to write.
Lucky.
You know what? The future is a convergence of this. And I think for me, analog and digital is about the craft of things. When I say craft, it's not about just handmade. It's how anything is made. So we were talking earlier about these foundational ideas for your learnings. Like, you need to know, if you're in the arts, you need to know everything there is to know about how the arts are produced. Like, how things are made. How do we create those experiences? Like, how is it done? You do that through, internships, you do that through research, and you do it through connecting with the process. And then once you know that, then you can start, so I'm talking about a foundation of, studying the history of art, the history of design. Like, everybody should know the foundational things that drove everything the way it looks today. This brutalist architecture, these chairs, the tiles that you see. Like, for me, it's about, I observe everything in that context because, I'm an industrial designer.
Yeah.
So, everything, from that this lame little flower pot over here to this
What do you mean?
to this wobbly table. I have a lecture on wobbly
That's on
table.
purpose. That's on purpose.
Okay, I have a wobbly table lecture, by the way, if you want to look at it on my website. Okay, so this is the foundation. Is you need to have that as part. Like even if you want to be a great AI prompt engineer, you're only going to be able to do that by having an understanding of culture. Like, you can't just say to AI, do something. You know, that you need to say, you have to give it
Context.
creative context. Yeah,
Of course.
right.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to focus on, and I hope you guys understand the importance of this too. And I know you do, because you wouldn't have chosen this course unless you were really interested in the creative learning, right? So congratulations to you for that.
And sort of on that topic, a very trendy one, there's this new thing that just came out called Sora 2. Cindy, have you heard of this?
Yeah, I have. Yes.
Paul, have you? No? So it is basically, it's Instagram Reels or TikTok, except it is entirely AI generated. So you just give it a prompt and it creates something, and it's like an endless scroll of just AI generated videos. And
It's a slop factory.
yeah, literally. And so like my brother, his Instagram Reels page now is filled out of nowhere with just that.
Your brother is younger.
Older. He's 4 years older. And like he was just scrolling on Instagram and he was like, why is all of this all of a sudden AI? And so I did a little bit of research on it, and I wanted to get you guys' opinion on it. So I went on YouTube, and all I looked up was Sora 2. And these were some of the titles that it said. It said, give me a single reason why Sora 2 should exist. And that's by Hank Green, so a big YouTuber. Sora, the all-AI TikTok clone, will slop end creativity. And that's by Casey Neistat, so a huge YouTuber. Sora 2 is a problem. Sora 2 AI video app is terrifying. OpenAI's new slot machine is open for business. Sora 2 AI videos are getting out of hand. And then on the flip side of that, there's how I'd use Sora 2 to hit 1 million plus views on AI videos. Wow. So what, like, when you first heard of this, what was your opinion? And now knowing more about it, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, from a business perspective, I think that it makes sense that they would make, this type of social media app, because it is now feeding a lot more video content to now train AIs outside of text, because they were kind of reaching a limit to train the AI because they only had the text out of the internet. So now it's AI creating synthetic AI to train AI. So it's just become this infinite loop of slop. Right. Anyway, but on the risk side, Sora 2 it has a litany of risk. One being, I think OpenAI is working on the parental controls because with these technologies, deep fakes are a very big issue. So you can put yourself in, as I understand it, like you can put yourself in any type of scene. So you already probably saw the video of Sam Altman stealing GPUs, right?
Yeah.
And he gave the consent for his likeness to be used. I think they're changing that consent model to opt in instead of opt out. Before it was, if your likeness was out on the internet, they could use it unless you opted out of it. Yeah. So there is a lot of risks, who's using it, how is this, what I always think about is, how is this impacting the consumption of our media, which then impacts our identity of how we serve as creative individuals in this world. Like AI is now mediating the way that we see ourselves and see the world around us. And then that will have an impact on how we create our lived experiences, I believe. So Sora 2 is a tool in which it's going to get you engaged. Their business model is now to get you engaged as much as possible so that they will keep you on the app, because it's fun. This is what the social media model is
and you can also
operationally.
add your friends on it.
Of course,
Yeah.
they've now become a social media company. So the more that you're on it, the more data you're going to be producing for it, the more the algorithm is going to learn and get better and better and be used in different other areas of their business. So I think that it's just a business move, but it's going to have a lot of impact for the way that creatives or culture and content is created.
Yeah, well, very well said. Well, it just goes back to what I've said before. The era of AI is going to be this kind of muck that's just, it's going to preoccupy a lot of our time, but it does give you the opportunity. It could be that there's going to be a general, like, low-grade media. It already is actually a lot of slop on the internet and through all other streaming and so forth. But there is an opportunity for like high quality, I would call it like black label work, like with more craft in mind, with more thinking in mind. You know, I think you will be able to differentiate, I hope, this quality work that's very thoughtful, thoughtfully made versus stuff that's just banged out with AI within seconds. I hope.
So, this actually perfectly segues into a little segment that I made, and it is called Aristotle or Artificial. So I have 3 quotes, and 2 of them are ChatGPT, and 1 of them is Aristotle, and I wanted to see if you guys could spot the difference between the 3.
Well, wait, maybe you should ask the students.
Yeah, we'll do some crowd work as well, actually. So, there is wisdom begins not when we answer the world, but when we learn to question ourselves. There is pleasure in the job, puts perfection in the work. And then there is art is not the act of creating something new, but of revealing what was already waiting to be seen. And then there is art is not the act of creating something new, but of revealing what was already waiting to be seen.
Wow.
Ooh. Wow. I
like the third one.
Yeah.
The last one.
Okay.
I would say Aristotle is the first one.
Okay. All right. Now, if you guys could put your hand up on if you think the first one is Aristotle, which is wisdom begins not when we answer the world, but when we learn to question ourselves.
Oh,
okay.
They agree with you. You said the first one, right?
I did.
Okay. Put your hand up if you think this one is Aristotle. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work.
One person.
Okay, one person. Then, if you think this one is Aristotle, art is not the act of creating something new, but of revealing what has already been waiting to be seen.
Nobody. No, there's one.
All right.
No, there's another one.
So, okay. So the Aristotle quote was actually pleasure in the job, it's perfection in the work, the second one. So you were right. The only person was right. Yeah. So that's...
Wow. See, look at that.
You get a prize.
You get the lame flower pot. That's not lame at all.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Well, that's an
it was a
interesting.
Dollarama
That's an
purchase.
interesting exercise. So the point is, they're all pretty good quotes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, scarily
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna ask, like, do you think there's ever gonna be a point where, like, creativity isn't just human anymore? Like, if it isn't, like, do you think it could ever get to a point where that isn't uniquely a human attribute?
But you still have to say that the training came from humans. I mean,
That's fair.
AI and technology is just an extension of ourselves. So, but you think it has singularity, like we'll approach singularity at some point? That's a good question. But I like using AI for research. I think, but it still requires critical thinking and how to be able to use it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And be careful when you use it for research. I tried it.
because it lies.
It makes up citations. There's already been like 2 cases. Deloitte was one. They created a report for the Australian government, this was like last week, for like 440 Aussie dollars, which is about 320 US, 320,000, just one report, Deloitte. And it was just fraught with citations that were made up, incorrect information. So Deloitte, it was just a huge PR finagle. So they had to partially refund. And even here in Canada, it's embarrassing. Even here in Canada, in Newfoundland, there was, I think it was the Department of Education put out a report about AI ethics that included fake citations from, so just be careful. And then you think about, critical thinking, always question, where this is coming from. And when I was playing around with it and I uploaded documents, I wanted to test it. So I uploaded documents that I already had. And I said, listen, can you pull out the main themes across all of these documents and give me citations in Chicago style, and do not make citations up and give them to me in straight order. And I looked up the citations and they were wrong. So I even gave it instructions to not make up, information, go directly to the sources that I've uploaded, and it was wrong. So you have to be very careful.
Well, I think that's why we need transparency when we're using AI. I mean, these are the tools that are available to us to get things done. So I think you do have to be transparent about that and say, yeah, we used AI to do this, and yeah, it could be a mistake. I mean, I think for proof of concept, I think you have a lot more human. I was surprised they let a document go out that had not been checked by a human for validation, right?
Of course, and I think that speaks to what we're seeing a lot is automation bias, where the AI output that is being created is now taken as face value, as more objective than humans, and you can start to see this wave of how it's shaping the way we even think about information and how we learn. So because the way that it speaks, it's so confident in the way it presents the information to you. So there's a level of, you have to discern that this is not a human talking to you. It is trained to be sycophantic, to make it sound like, even though it's hallucinating, and make it sound like it's very objective. But because it's doing that and we're taking it as face value, this automation bias is now going to impact the way we even learn and the knowledge that we have. So you have to be very careful and be critical of the outputs. But yes, I agree. I don't know who did that. And when you're talking about, productivity gains, perhaps they think, oh, this has already reduced our workload or the hours billed to a mere, 10 hours. So let's just get it out there.
But is it truthful?
It's exactly, you have to ask it, right?
I think we're lucky to have Cindy here talking to us about this, because we have to go forward with some skepticism.
Yes.
Like I'm overly optimistic at times, as you can tell. But I think, first of all, it's unstoppable anyway.
It is unstoppable.
That's why we need to have critical thinking, like Cindy's applying to the validity of it. It's really important. But it's unstoppable. For example, I think you read a couple months ago that the designer of the iPhone, Johnny Ives' company, was purchased by Sam Altman from OpenAI for $1 billion. That's a validation, in at least his attempt at validating that AI would be a new kind of creativity, right? And so he's put $1 billion up, which is a decent amount.
To them, it's chump change now, right? Yes. And they're building what is...
But Johnny Ives has credibility.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I just think that, knowing that, I think that going forward, even though it's fraught with issues, you still have to realize that, the future is this convergence of our own human creativity using this very powerful tool, right?
I agree.
So the last question I have before moving on to a Q&A session quickly is that AI, well, like creative work in general, it starts off very lonely, I think, because it's like you just start creating on your own for most of the time. And then when you get into the professional world or as you get older, you start really getting a collaborative process in the creative industries and obviously in any field. But I feel like now with AI, so much of that gets replaced because you basically have an assistant next to you that can do a lot of things at an okay level. So how have you sort of witnessed AI change the collaborative process in creative industries? And how do you think it's going to keep changing it?
Well, in the cold era of AI, I think it's perfect because people won't have to collaborate. They can just sit with their AI assistant and do everything themselves. But we know that the best ideas going forward in the future is going to be from multidisciplinary people collaborating together, particularly in the same room, hopefully in the same room. And that's when brilliant ideas are going to emerge. So that you're speaking to, yeah, the downside of technology isolating people. And I'm speaking to, yeah, okay, there's an opportunity now. When I go to the office, I'm not going to be doing robotic work and sitting in front of my computer. I'm going to be engaging with multidisciplinary people in the office and building company culture and inventing new things. So this is my positive approach to things, is that the concept of the office has been really eroded because of, the pandemic and homework. And that makes sense for a lot of people because they're doing robotic work. Might as well just keep them at home so they don't have to commute. But if we really want to do innovative work together, and this is why we're actually sitting around collaborating right now, is that we want to be together, humans coming together and sharing ideas, and this is how great ideas are going to be formed. So yeah, it's going to be worse. We know the future can be worse with AI, and then I see that as our opportunity.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree with Paul. I think that what you're talking to is the collaboration process. So the process of creating something, and maybe that would be different because, like you said, we all have the tools, and we will all have streaming intelligence where we can tap into, AGI at one point to get anything that we want done or any of our creative ideas manifest. But I think collaboration might be defined differently in terms of why we're doing what we're doing, why are we creating what we're creating, and that is still going to be in the core of human interaction. So we're collaborating with our fellow humans to make something that we as humans need. So the collaboration is lifted outside of the process of creating it, but now imbued in the reason and the intent of why we're doing it.
Well, I think the key word there was purpose, right? So I think what's our purpose in being the class today, and why are we attending this university? I think it should be, I think it was pretty clear in your minds what your purpose was, to get educated, have this experience, and then hopefully pursue a passion in some kind of job and taking that knowledge, right, and surviving, right? Mm-hmm. So purpose is a big driver for this. And so if we had some keywords, I think we should summarize this whole talk with some keywords.
Key takeaways.
Yeah, key takeaways, and I like to put it in words. Like at Umbra, we had keywords that drove us forward in our business. Modern, affordable, innovative, original. Mm-hmm. And if anyone showed us any product that didn't fit those keywords, it was automatically rejected, right? So having these keywords around how to use AI might be an interesting thing
Yeah.
to develop, right? What do you
Guidelines.
think?
I like that. I like that very much. And I would encourage maybe, Paul, just to take it one step further. So maybe think about what are your keywords for your purpose? What are your keywords that will drive your creative process, drive why you want to create what you want to create? Because art is so deeply personal. So if you are now creating art, what is your purpose? Like back to what you're saying, is your purpose just to make a ton of money and be famous? And that's okay if that's what you want to do. But if your purpose really is to put a part of yourself, to the world, to hope that that part resonates with someone else and you can communicate through that medium, then think about what is the purpose of using this tool. So I like those words. So I'm going to think about what my words are.
Well,
What
I like
drives me.
relationships. I like relationships too.
Yeah.
I mean, without relationships, do you want to have a relationship with a robot, or do you want to have a relationship with a
Oh, a lot
human?
of people want robots these days, which is scary.
Okay, but I would
scary.
prefer a human.
As what I do. At the
I
end
mean,
of
we
the day.
talk about purpose, relationship, I think honesty, because like it's really important to feel that you're honestly using, especially with these technologies which are so fraught with all the pitfalls of dishonesty and just creating junk for
For eyeballs.
and fast fashion that's just disposable, that has no sustainability. Like these things for the future, can't we form keywords around? Yeah, and I love it. It should be personal, right? That'll guide you in your use of this technology, I think.
Exactly.
What do you think?
I think personal is a big one, and I think in anything community, I think in creativity is always very important, and I think that's something that you can never convey through AI. And I think in anything creative, there should always be a sense of community in it, in whatever way that may be. So I think that's always something that you should keep in whatever you're working with. And yeah, I think that's a keyword for sure.
I think if you look at the brands, if you talk about brands, things that you use, your phones and whatever, like this item is not only, it's actually a technology converged with fashion too, because you're using it like a fashion item too, swinging it around. And then the brands like Apple, for example, they have meaning for you. So meaning is an important word for me, a key word
Meaning, yeah.
about why you're doing the things. It's not exactly purpose. It's about having this continuous relationship with your idea or the consumer or even your parents or whatever that has deep meaning. And you get that from continuous engagement. It doesn't just happen overnight. Meaning is created over time,
Yes.
right? So that's something that you really have to work on. Your relationship with your professor, for example. Does it have meaning or not?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, so thank you for that. We're gonna very quickly move on to a quick Q&A session. We have time for about 2 or 3 questions from any students. So if you have any questions, put your hands up. Rosa.
There's a few questions.
Oh, okay.
There's one.
Great.
I have a question for the guy that won the Aristotle quote. Like, are you a philosopher or?
You guessed. I guess we had a 33%.
Guessing is good.
Yeah. I like Aristotle, but that's the thing with AI. It can make it sound so.
Yeah, I actually gave him a tip off. Yeah, I told him to study every Aristotle quote ever.
There's
for this.
there's a website actually. Sorry, before we take the question, if you guys are interested, I think it's called Fake or Real. So they have side by side an AI generated image of a person and a group versus a real. So you can go in and you can test yourself. It's a great activity for discernment. So as AI gets better and better, you can start testing yourself. So
That's just gonna scare me.
yeah.
But yes,
Okay, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so I come from like the live performance world, and someone once argued that digital media and short-form content is the modern form of theater. I disagree with this. I think there's something really special about being in the same place with a group of people at the same time and experiencing the exact same thing. And I think that this can be carried into like work projects. So my question is, how do you purposefully establish a space in your workplace to routinely practice this sense of human interaction and team collaboration when working on various projects? I fumbled a bit. I can read it again if.
Sorry, yes, can you read it again?
Yeah,
I didn't
absolutely.
quite hear the last
So,
part.
how do you purposefully establish a space in your workplace to routinely practice the sense of human interaction that we're talking about, the human interaction that we think is really necessary, and team collaboration when working on various projects? Like, do you have team huddles? What do we do?
Do you want to do that, Paul?
Basically, how you ensure that how you keep the team communicating with one another in a workplace, like, and what way do you do that? Is it through team huddles, like team meetings, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, as opposed to just resorting to AI all the
I-
time. Like,
I agree with you, and I think I've worked with the American Marketing Association as a mentor for many years, and I had one woman who was hired online, and then I worked with her for several months, and then she told me she was fired online too. She'd never actually met anyone from the office. So that's an impossible situation for relationship building. Like, how can that be? Like, it's impossible. So if you had to take a job like that to sustain yourself, yes. But like the idea of going to the office and engaging with your coworkers, multidisciplinary workers, for example, to create something or to build company culture, this would be my goal for anyone.
Yeah.
So I think you're right.
Yeah, I work in corporate right now, and funny enough,
Do you go every day to the office?
I go no days in the office.
Whoa.
I'm fully
there you
remote.
go.
Yeah, and I was.
How do you how do you collaborate?
I do travel a bit for work, so that helps. But I do miss that sense of camaraderie. There is downsides to working remotely, for sure. I try my best to connect with my colleagues when I can through a phone call as opposed to Teams. And I think that to keep myself sane is I would also engage in external, extracurricular activities that bring me to the community that might not just be outside of work. So, there's things that you can do, obviously. Have drop-in like hour time where anyone who has open office times, anyone who has a question can just give you a call. And I think that team outings are very important if you can. But unfortunately, my team is so global in Japan and London, and so it's really hard. And the purse strings are a little tight now. So.
Well, I love the idea that it's global, but like when you think about huge corporations that are global, I wonder if they're losing touch with their community, because like how are they? Okay, there's probably they pay a lot of money for research and consumer behavior and so forth, but like you're a user of your company's products. Like, why? What's the meaning? And like, are some companies getting more meaning from that kind of engagement or losing on that because of that? So I would say, yeah, like show some leadership in your team and like bring everyone together for those kind of personal engagements. I'm glad you asked that question because I think it's really important. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. Great,
thank you.
No, I agree.
Okay.
I think we have time for one more question. Run it.
Hello. I was wondering, because especially in the art world where we consider copyright and ownership of artwork to be very important to artists. I was wondering if we'll ever develop a way to ethically use AI in producing art, because a lot of AI art is taking from other people's art, and a lot of these artists do not consent to having their artwork be used for AI. So I was wondering if there's any possibility of finding ethical ways to integrate AI into the process of making art.
Well, first of all, for a long time I've been thinking about the effect, how to make patents and copyright more effective. I've owned and applied for many, many patents. The system is manual right now. It's basically hand-drawn sketches of product, and then it's submitted to a patent office, and then it's judged whether it's compared somehow to previous art. And I'm thinking that maybe AI is actually the answer to helping original design. Because if I submitted a design to an AI-driven patent office, it could immediately know from the CAD work or even by the scanning of the image what it could compare it to in terms of previous art. So it could be, we could have a database that would be instantly recognizing original art or not. Like, this could be a big breakthrough, because the methods of copyright and patenting right now are really archaic. So, okay, that's one side, that's the positive side. The other side is, I think, yeah, I don't think it's unstoppable. Like even today when we do design and someone copies it, they do something called a design around. So they change a detail.
Right.
And so then it's not defendable anymore by patents.
Right.
So why would we think AI derivative design would be actually enforceable, the patents enforceable or not? I think it's almost impossible. When you have subtle changes to original art, it's not infringing on any copyright. So I would like to see AI helping us with that, but also I like some of the chat where they actually give references to where they're quoting now, and some of those, if you do a document.
Right.
And I think that's fair. It footnotes
Yeah.
where
If
the
they're
sources.
correct, yes.
If they're correct, yeah.
Yes.
So seeing sources but using a research AI tool, for me is a great thing. Because,
Yeah.
it's transparent.
I would say one practice, which is a good practice, is when you're prompting an LLM, which is a large language model, I would abstain from using the likeness of anybody else. So, for example, if you're inputting a drawing that you made into the model, do this in the style of Van Gogh. Like, that's clear, copyright and clear IP. So I would abstain from doing that, and I would also abstain from using the likeness of anybody else, because then you could get in ethical issues of using, like you saw Taylor Swift's deep fake. Everything is deep fake, but ethically you really shouldn't be doing that, especially if you are trying to disseminate a message that is quite harmful. Just like core morality and ethics, you shouldn't really be doing that. But on the regulatory side, like you said, Paul, it's very hard. Even the Copyright Office is trying to get their arms around how to enforce this and how they might change some of their guidelines, because as it stands right now, a prompt, you cannot copyright a prompt. So even if you put in a prompt to create a new original art piece, the prompt itself is not copyrightable. Because it was created by a machine, there is no human authorship is what they're saying right now. That's what they're saying. However, but if you go into that artwork and you tell the AI to change this color or, you know, remove this blur, then those portions of that art piece can be yours. But to kind of slice and dice what is considered human authorship versus what is considered, you know, an LLM, that's still in kind of the nascent stage. They can't wrap their arms around it to see how, but it's going to have to impact, or the guidelines will have to change because there's no getting around not using AI for those reasons now. So,
And I think if you're all going to be creating your own personal brands, okay? If you're relying on hybrid everything by AI that doesn't contain original thinking from yourself, then I think that's a big problem. You're not going to be known as a real designer, creator, person, because you're synthesizing everything. So you have to have those inputs that are highly personal, I think. Even using the prompt engineering, I think it's still valid. Okay, what do you think of this if I put in, you're gonna be the ethics person, I put in, okay, design a flower pot in the style of Umbra. Is that ethical or not?
That's a great question. That's very interesting.
I don't think that's ethical because you're taking someone's style that's already, you know, their style. But legally, I don't know what, you know, the regulations will say about that. Like, but you don't. Your style is not copyrightable, right? Like your style, in a style is not an piece of art. So if it was like Van Gogh's Starry Night, that is IP. Like you cannot, you know, repurpose that or recreate that. But in the style of, you can't copyright or IP an idea.
But it's been trained on, it's looked at 10,000 pictures of all my products,
And
it
it'll
knows
know.
what the style is.
But,
Yes.
But is there an argument that it only becomes unethical once it's commercialized and once you make money off of that design?
Yeah,
off
that's
of
a
that
good
flower
question
pot?
too.
That's another good question.
That's a good question too. So what is the purpose of?
I think for
doing that?
experimentation, it's okay.
Yeah.
If you're going to do concepts and you like the way Kara Rashid or Philippe Starck or other famous industrial designers, if you like their style, I mean, without AI, you still might be referencing all those designers in design books, or you might be looking at Pinterest before AI. Like you synthesize ideas, you process it through your own life experience and your needs and your clients' needs, and then out comes original design. So actually using references like Umbra or famous designers is not unethical, but you can use it to conceptualize a lot of different ideas, but the ultimate idea has to be your own. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're still going to be, we're all influenced by the history of design
I get it.
and art.
But what if I would? What about recently the Ghibli? So everyone could steal Ghibli style and put like their face on, you know.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? That it's a Ghibli style, right? But you could instantly tell that that is a very unique style in that artist. And
So you're not going to gain any credit or value or get people to pay you for stuff that's imitative
Yeah,
like that.
that's
So
true.
I mean, just let's think of it that way. Like, what's the value? Okay, value is another keyword out of this lecture. Okay, like when you're creating all this synthesized stuff, imagery or copy, what's the value of it? Like, I think you have to think about that, and then
And what's your value
you'll
add?
discover that the value will be from creating original ideas, innovative ideas, things that are challenging, things that are experimental. There's value in that for society. Or we as creatives, how do we show leadership? Culture rewards leadership, okay? Not imitation. I mean, okay, there's a lot of companies out there that imitate, but the real leaders are the ones that get the most rewards. Like Taylor Swift is a leader in her own brand of music, and she gets rewarded with it. She's a billionaire. Like, so being imitative, being a garage band imitating Taylor Swift gets no rewards.
Right.
So
Originality.
originality is what we want to strive for. So even though we have these tools to make it easy for us, like how original is the work that you're doing? Okay.
That's true.
Another keyword, right?
So that's value, originality, personality. What else did we say?
Community. Yeah.
Create meaning.
Purpose, yeah.
Purpose.
Purpose. Yeah.
Purpose. Okay.
All right.
think
Go forward with
we'll
thy
wrap it up there.
lives.
Yeah. Now, as we wrap it up, Cindy, you and I can sit back and enjoy this one. Paul, I have a special request for you.
Oh, yeah.
I noticed something that you like to do at the end of every lecture or
Harmonica?
talk that you give. Could
You brought a
please?
harmonica?
Here, I'll take your microphone. Could you
You brought a
please
harmonica.
just serenade us
Oh my
out of this talk?
God, okay.
I've not used it before, so. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the second episode of Live Fridays Beyond the Creative Curtain. I hope to see you guys for the next one. Big thank you to Cindy and Paul. Big thank you to Capture Club and ACSMA that helped us out today. And yeah, thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.
Oh, that's your hidden talent.
Wow.
Thanks for the harmonica.
Yeah, that's yours now.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.